faces.
Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Today I want to talk to you guys about Tekken 8's netcode. Now, for me personally, netcode isn't this like thing that I'm like really like upset about and frustrated about when I play Tekken. That's not something that I really think is a problem. But I know for everyone else, for a lot of other people, netcode is a deal breaker. People will be like, this netcode sucks, the connection sucks, it's 73 and it should be 2, and it's like, you know, some people take it a lot more serious. So for those of you guys who take netcode as like the biggest serious thing on the planet, this is for you. We have here a tweet that kind of explains it. This guy here is the person who is responsible and is in charge of the netcode for Tekken 8. You know how I tell you guys that there's a lot of different moving parts in different teams? There's a balancer team, there's a shop team, there's a story team, there's a netcode team, and this is the face of it. You can see his bio says Tekken 8 matchmaking netcode advisors. A tweet that he received is, hey, will you please fix netcode in Tekken 8 North America? It's bad. Matches are always 80 ms to 100 ms. And for those of you who are watching this live, you can say whether or not you agree or disagree with this person's assessment of Tekken 8 ranked online in North America. So in response to that, the person in charge of netcode says, in Tekken 8, a character position, posture, rotation, as well as attack and hit collision data are updated continuously on per frame basis. Each frame state depends on the result of previous frame, which means that the immediate frames cannot be skipped, approximated, or coarsely rounded without breaking simulation consistency. So basically what the start of this is saying, every frame matters for Tekken, and you cannot skip over, roll back, or do anything like that. The game just doesn't work that way. That sounds like a Tekken 8 exclusive problem, but there should be an exclusive solution. The tweet goes on, it says, first, it's important to clarify that the displayed latency value of 80 ms represents the rounded trip network time between the two players. The value reflects user-to-user network conditions such as connection, quality, route paths, physical distance, and is not a metric that evaluates the quality or performance of the netcode itself. That's weird. That's weird. This would probably explain why there's people, I fight people all over the world, right? When I'm doing streams, I play a lot of viewer matches and people are all over the world. I'll be fighting people in like the Middle East and it will say it's a 2-bar, a 1-bar, but you do feel like a little bit of a delay. Like you feel like the game is like kind of slow, like crawling, but it's not spiking, it's not lagging, right? And that's probably what that is. It's not that the netcode is bad, it's that you're being connected from far away. So that's what creates that lag. In online matches, both players' systems must reproduce identical simulations results based on per frame input data. So basically saying both players have to be pressing the same buttons and receiving the same buttons and the same information. If you do a -13 attack, I have to be able to see that you did a -13 attack in order to do a -13 punish. As long as there is a delay before the opponent's input arrives, that is a network round trip time. It is impossible to perform accurate collision detection on state calculations using inputs that have not been received yet. Rollback netcode mitigates the limitation and predicting inputs and re-simulating frames once the actual input arrives. However, this technique fundamentally assumes the input arrive late. Rollback cannot make inputs arrive earlier, nor can it reduce physical distance or alter network routing. No matter whether or not the players are wrong in how they're describing the problem to be, the general idea is that there is a problem that needs to be fixed. So whether it's the 80 ms, whether it's the netcode, players are feeling that something is wrong with the connection, the online state, right? And whether we're pointing to different problems, the developers should address that. Now, like I said at the start, for me, I'm not really someone who thinks that this game is super laggy and unplayable, but I know there's a lot of other people who take the game way more seriously. Maybe they play characters where inputs need to be 100% perfect, and that slight delay that I may, ignore while I'm spamming flash or low unblockable, those guys, their whole input or combo will be thrown off by it, right? So it says, at this point, it's useful to explain the difference compared to Street Fighter 6. Street Fighter 6 is designed in a 2D game which character's position and hit collision updates occurs in discrete steps over multiple frames, roughly 4 to 5. Because the structure when rollback occurs, the resulting difference are relative, of course, making the discrepancies less noticeable both visually and in terms of player input. Tekken 8, by contrast, update collision data every single frame, with collision volumes continuously moving and deforming in a 3D space. As a result, even one frame discrepancy can directly determine whether an attack hits or misses, or whether a move is successfully evaded or not. This is probably a very stupid thing to say, but I would say that if the problem is Tekken is updating on every frame, why don't they somehow, because I know he explained that it's kind of difficult to do, but why don't they somehow, some way make it update every 4 or 5 frames like Street Fighter do? Maybe it's impossible, maybe, but it seems like that's the problem then. Due to structural requirements, the effects of the same network round trip time tends to be more perceptible in Tekken 8 than in Street Fighter 6. This difference is not a matter of netcode quality or superiority, but rather the result of different positions requirements dictated by the game design. To completely eliminate the effects of network latency in Tekken 8, one would need to choose one of the following options: reduce collision and state update to multi-frame intervals. So that's kind of what I just said, right? Make it over multiple frames instead of one. Significantly increase input delay. That's not what players want. Or lower hit collision precision. So what does that mean? What is lower hit collision precision? With my lack of knowledge, I would say that sounds like adjusting the hitbox. All of these options would fundamentally compromise Tekken's gameplay. They would break the conditions required by frame precise movement with punishment, guaranteed punishment, effectively turning the game into a different experience. In other words, the current behaviors is not the result of something being left unfixed, but rather the result of optimization pushed to the structural limits of design. Any remaining latency is not something that can be resolved through netcode tuning, but instead reflects the inherent constraints imposed by user-to-user networks, conditions, and physical distance. Okay, I understand. That's actually a very good breakdown. I understand. So it's not that the game is laggy and disjointed. It's that the game is updating frame by frame. And the further you are away, the more trash your opponent's connection is. If those guys are on McDonald's Wi-Fi, you're going to feel it. And there's nothing the game can do about it because the game is already updating frame by frame optimally. And if you change anything about it, it's going to alter the way you do inputs, alter the way you do moves, alter the way you move, you sidestep. Oh, he's clarifying something about Street Fighter 6. You think Street Fighter 6 got in contact with bro? The Street Fighter dev said, hey, wait a minute. Finally, it's important to address other factors that affect the quality of online matches. Anti-cheat measures, fraud detection, unfortunate reality of gaming, cheat prevention, and illegitimate behaviors must be performed during live matches. Anti-cheat during live matches, but we have multiple cheaters who are playing and they are not being dealt with. That's a whole different subject. In online matches, multiple verifications, okay. Yeah, I kind of understand. We don't need to read this. You guys can pause and read that if you want. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe, and bye-bye.